All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating thesis by the esteemed scholar P.A. Payutto on exactly why Buddhism is considered completely, undeniably inseparable from Thai identity. We're going to explore those deep and honestly sometimes invisible threads that connect a nation's soul to its spiritual heritage, looking really closely at how history, language, and culture all intertwine.
To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to hit 5 key pillars today: the hesitation problem, stats and cultural roots, the tolerant religion, records from Westerners, and finally, the institution of the Thai nation. Let's get into it. Starting off with part 1, the hesitation problem, a modern ambiguity. So if you were to walk up to a Thai person today and ask, "Hey, is Buddhism the national religion of Thailand?" you'd probably get a pretty hesitant, maybe even ambiguous answer. And you got to wonder, why is that? How does a nation so totally steeped in this tradition get kind of unsure about how to officially label it?
Well, it turns out this hesitation actually stems from over 100 years of Western influence and colonial pressure. Think about it. Facing the massive expansion of Western empires back in the day, Siam had to rapidly, and I mean literally overnight, modernize its legal and educational systems just to survive. But the catch, in doing so, it inadvertently started viewing its own deep-rooted traditions through a completely foreign Western lens. And that brings us to today, where this modern ambiguity is really driven by a fear of marginalizing minority religions. Policymakers are basically taking Western political anxieties and projecting them onto a uniquely Thai cultural context, which is wild, especially when you consider that King Rama IX explicitly affirmed Buddhism as the national religion during a 1984 address welcoming Pope John Paul II.
Moving right along to part 2, stats and cultural roots, the reality on the ground. Because statistically speaking, the reality here is just undeniable. We're looking at 95% of the population identifying as Buddhist. With a number that massive, you simply cannot separate the story of the Thai people from the story of Buddhism. It is the absolute defining worldview for almost the entire population.
But hey, it's way more than just numbers on a chart, right? It's an entire way of life. These Buddhist rituals are deeply, deeply woven into literally every single stage of the Thai life cycle. From birth naming ceremonies to young men temporarily ordaining as monks, all the way through to weddings and funerals, the entire rhythm of Thai society basically beats to a Buddhist drum.
And get this, you can actually hear this integration in their everyday language. Totally ordinary words for completely secular things, like going to kindergarten, buying food, or driving a car, are actually rooted in Pali and Sanskrit, the ancient languages of Buddhist scripture. So the religion isn't just sitting quietly in the temples. It is literally woven into the vocabulary of the streets.
Which leads us to part 3, the tolerant religion, a sociological distinction.
Now, there is a super crucial philosophical distinction in how we humans hold our beliefs, and it basically boils down to exclusive versus inclusive faiths. Exclusive faiths often claim an absolute dogmatic monopoly on the truth, and historically, if they become the state religion, minorities inherently suffer. But an inclusive faith, like Buddhism, it views its teachings more as a path to a good life, a path of wisdom, so it naturally makes room for folks who are walking totally different paths, accepting them harmoniously.
This is a huge point. Think about Western nations, like America. They required a very strict separation of church and state to prevent religious persecution. I mean, early settlers literally crossed a massive ocean to escape religious violence. But Thailand, they didn't share that historical trauma. The Thai experience was one of inherent religious tolerance right from the get-go. And because of that, the integration of state and religion never posed a threat to minority groups. They just peacefully coexisted.
So, let's look at the historical proof for this in part 4, records from Westerners. And you know, we don't just have to take modern history as word for this. Back in the 17th century, French Catholic missionaries arrived in Siam fully expecting pushback. But instead, missionaries like Jean de Bourgis were absolutely floored. They found a society where incredibly diverse religious groups were living and practicing totally freely, completely unbothered by the Buddhist majority. Bishop Palagoix noted something very similar later on. He realized that religious freedom wasn't something the Thai people had to fight tooth and nail for. In so many other parts of the world, religious freedom was unfortunately paid for in blood and revolution. But in Thailand, freedom of religion was basically just the default setting. It was an organic reality that naturally sprang out of the Buddhist mindset.
And this leads to what is honestly a grand historical irony. These foreign missionaries arrived with immense bias, right? Yet, They were met with nothing but open-mindedness and, get this, actual funding. The Thai king allowed French Jesuits to preach, he gave them land, and he even funded their churches. Meanwhile, the Jesuits were openly recording their disdain for Buddhism, literally calling it barbaric. Yet the Buddhist state protected their absolute right to say and do exactly that. Mind-blowing, right?
There's also this great account from a French military officer, Chevalier de Forbin. He noted exactly why these missionaries were failing so hard to convert the Thais. Whenever the missionaries tried to pick a theological fight, the local Buddhist monks, who Forbin noted were highly disciplined, didn't drink alcohol, and were excessively charitable, would just smile, agree that Christian teachings were good, and simply ask why the missionaries couldn't see that Buddhist teachings were good too. They completely, 100%, refused to take the bait and argue.
All right, finally, bringing us to Part 5, Institution of the Thai Nation, the Tricolor Flag.
Next time you look at the Thai Trirong flag, designed by King Rama VI, remember that you aren't just seeing pretty colors. You are looking at the three foundational pillars of the state. The red represents the blood of the nation's people, the blue is the sovereign monarchy, and the white? Well, according to the king's own poetry, that white stripe represents the purity of the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha.
So Buddhism here isn't just a personal, private faith you practice on your own time. It functions as a unifying institution of the Thai nation, the ultimate anchor for societal harmony. By acknowledging Buddhism as the national religion, the state isn't elevating one group just to oppress another. Not at all. It is formally recognizing the exact cultural and structural mechanism that has historically guaranteed peace, charity, and absolute freedom for all faiths within its borders.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this. When you see that white stripe on the Thai flag now, are you just seeing a color? Or are you seeing centuries of inclusive philosophy, a rich linguistic heritage, and a profound, time-tested commitment to religious tolerance? Understanding this deep history completely shifts how we view the relationship between a nation and its faith, doesn't it? Thanks so much for diving into this with us, and as always, keep questioning the history behind the world around you.